Before we go to the actual presentation of our research, let us first ask the present and guidance of our Lord.
Hilip-hilip nilalamig ako ng ano.
Good day, everyone. We are the College of Tourism and Hospitality Management students. My name is Clarice, together with my group mates.
I am Maria Linal de Silva.
I am Maricris Elma Putol.
I am Jerlene Bartolay.
Presenting our research proposal entitled Effectiveness of Using Instructional Materials for Blended Learning to the College of Tourism and Hospitality Management students. Our topic is the effectiveness of blended learning approach, this new system of learning education that the Department of Education decided to open amidst pandemic was receiving a lot of criticism. Students, parents pointed out that their household finances have been affected by a months of lockdowns and they could not afford to buy a tools needed for the new education system like laptops, cell phone, and internet connection. We would like to address all the possible problems that we may encounter in blended learning. We all know that both privileges and less fortune are having a hard time with this, but the less fortunate is really affected. That is why conducting this research is not knowing only the perspective of our fellow students, but also giving awareness to ourselves in terms of hardship that we're going to face, because not every students have the same level of learning capabilities to cope up with the new learning system. Problem: how would blended learning approach be effective in inflecting knowledge to the students of College of Tourism and Hospitality? So we chose this question because our aim is to know how effective the new learning system, which is the blended learning system, to the students of our school, which is the College of Tourism and Hospitality Management students, than the traditional learning or the face-to-face learning. The rationale or the reason why we're going to conduct this research. The first one is to figure out how efficient the instructional materials to the students. With this, we will be able to know the efficiency of blended learning or the instructional materials that like modules, virtual class, and videos than the traditional learning or the blended learning. The second one is to address all the possible problems that may encounter in blended learning. By enumerating and identifying the problems in blended learning, we can prepare a solution that would likely to bring up good conclusion and results. By that, monitoring the condition of students, teacher, and learning environment. The third one is to fill the gaps about necessary needs of blended learning. Setting the improvement, we can do the adjustment according to what is needed. Similar to other reason, how we'll address the conflict that exists in the learning environment and in the learning process itself matter, at is the next step that we need to take to maintain the efficiency of blended learning. And the fourth one is to find out if the students are learning or just being forced to pass the subject. The objective of this research is to learn and benefit with it with the knowledge that we're going to provide rather than being based on the number system. The situation might different for each individual as everyone is adjusting to the new learning system or the blended learning. Moving on to our theoretical framework that we're going to discuss by Ms. De Silva.
The theoretical framework, according to Creature 1996, there's a several advantage of use blended learning, which is he enumerated it. First, for him, self-instructional is very helpful, especially to the teachers, because it allows them to teach well, and it helps the teachers to focus more to the students while in the class. Second, for him, it can also help to the students to more understand the thing we already know. And third, it's a better way in progress of learning. Also, in blended learning, it's helpful because online learning is more effectively to the connection and to understand more the topic to improve thinking skills. The significance of the study, students, teacher, future researcher, and parents. For students, the blended learning, it can actually help with the students because it will help the students to explore the technology and use the different tools or the techniques for learning. For example, the PowerPoint, virtual classroom, and etc. At the same time, the students is already know the experience in face-to-face and now we experience the online learning. And for the teachers, teachers can stay in touch with students' progress while the students can ask more questions and deeper language. For future researchers, this study can read it to guide them to get some idea for them to understand and to explain more their study. And for parents, for them to understand what we're experiencing here in online learning and to understand what is blended learning. To Ms. Maputol.
Thank you, Ms. Linnell. I will discuss the main respondent. Our respondent is College of Tourism and Hospitality student. If you are familiar with the e-learning in any way, there is no doubt you will have heard about blended learning. It is a concept that has risen in popularity over the last few years, with its advantage being lauded by e-learning professionals and learners alike. Despite the acceptance of effectiveness of blended learning, there continues to be some ambiguity around its definition. So just what is blended learning? In today's post, we'll develop into what is blended learning. It highlights some benefits offered organization in learning. We also touch on same benefits to avoid and explore how you can use blended as a part of your e-learning strategy. Blended learning is its approach to education that combines online education materials and opportunities for interaction online with traditional place-based classroom method is required the physical presence of both teacher and student, with some elements of student control and time, place, path, or place. And then are the main resources of our respondents is online Google Form. The academic analytic approach was used for the study, and the struggle questionnaire has designed in the Google Form, covering the reception of the teachers and learning in different Indian universities and college regarding online blended. Service and analysis was done using Google Form. Further analysis of the data received and being done by using simple statistical tool like percentage. And the next is the main objective. To conduct the study of the effectiveness of blended learning approach to students of College of Tourism and Hospitality Management, and to be aware on the struggle that students face upon the process. One of the worst often of the bad blended learning program is a simple not creating a strong blend between digital and non-digital learning. Same school system think that providing students with a digital learning program to replace in-class instruction will eliminate the problem of poor teaching, even when student learning via the traditional classroom were given access to online resources, the class taking part in the blended. Learning has a higher performance.
Thank you, Marie Chris. By the way, good day, everyone. Our research title is about the effectiveness of instructional materials for the blended learning to the College of Tourism and Hospitality Management students. Instructional materials is the educational resources that is used to improve students' knowledge, ability, and skills, while blended learning is a practice of using both online and in-person learning. But since the pandemic crisis, these two are being combined together. Instructional materials are the educational resources that is used to improve students' knowledge, skills, and ability, while the blended learning is the practice of using both online and in-person learning experiences. But since the pandemic crisis, in-person learning has also brought through online. But what would happen if these instructional materials and blended learning would be combined together? Would it be effective or not? Well, we'll learn about that as this study goes by. For the major problem, the researcher seeks to an answer on how sure does the instructional materials would be effective in inflecting knowledge to the College of Tourism and Hospitality Management students. In the current situation wherein face-to-face classes are being prohibited because of the pandemic, we want to know, or the researcher want to know, if the use of instructional material on blended learning would be effective in inflicting knowledge.
The specific problem, the researcher seek to answer the following problem. 1. Do the quality of online education are like the traditional one? How would the new mode of learning differ to the traditional one? Or does it even differ to each other? Number 2. Does the student have an access and the educational tools to cope up on the new method of learning? Do the enrolled students have a tools or gadgets to access the new mode of learning? How would the students get an access to the new mode of learning? By means of what? Number 3. Are the teachers or professors' teaching techniques are effective in rendering knowledge to the CTHM students? Well, teachers have different teaching techniques. Do their techniques are effective in rendering knowledge to the CTHM students? If not, what are the other teaching techniques that they practice inside the online classroom? Number 4. Are the institution prepared to support the new learning approach? If yes, what are the preparations that the institution practiced to fully cope up in this new mode of learning? That's all for our title proposal. Once again, I am Jerlene Bartolay.
I am Maricris Elma Putol.
I am Maria Lina de Silva.
And I am Clarice Lopez from the College of Tourism and Hospitality Management Department. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good day, everyone. We are the College of Tourism and Hospitality Management students. My name is Clarice, together with my group mates.
My name is Maria Lina de Silva.
My name is Maricris Elma Putol.
I am Jerlene Bartolay.
Presenting to you our research proposal entitled The Effectiveness of Using Instructional Materials for Blended Learning to the College of Tourism and Hospitality Students. Our introduction. SARS-CoV-2 is a virus detected in Wuhan, Hubei province in China at the end of 2019. or what we all know as coronavirus or COVID-19, referred as pandemic according to the WHO. It affects our respiratory system, and one way to lessen the cases was to keep social distance with each other. Most countries implement lockdowns, which is supposed to restrict social activities, and one of it is education industry, which is suffered due to the school closure. More than 190 million students from worldwide in pre-primary, lower secondary, upper secondary, and tertiary education levels were unable to go back to schools or university to lessen the infection cases caused by the virus. On March 40, the government of the Philippines under President Rodrigo Duterte placed Metro Manila under community quarantine. The national government implemented several restrictions such as the closure of tourism and travel sector, food industries, schools, and university. As one of the developing countries, it is really hard for the Philippine economy to close those industries that we can get profit, like tourism and hospitality sector. But for the sake of its people, the government forced to implement restriction to lessen the cases. Discussing the impact of COVID-19 on tourism education is a reminder of the fact that whatever happened in the industry impacts the education system and vice versa. This tends to be forgotten according to Serapin and Yellow 2020. So whatever happens in the industry, it also affects the education system and vice versa. And lastly, this study analyzed the current shape of hospitality and tourism education and how it is effective and reveals the possible impact of COVID-19 on hospitality and tourism education. More importantly, this study attempts to elicit more attention from academics and practitioners on the operation of hospitality and tourism education. So this course, the Tourism and Hospitality, is a skill-based course that needs to practice and enhance the skills of students for the real workforce. But since the pandemic happened, it forced to shift in online or blended learning system, which is more on knowledge base.
This research anchored by those theory by Fraser 1996 who enumerated the several advantages of the use of instructional materials using the modular approach which are follows. Self-instructional units allows the teachers to focus on the students' deficiency subjects matter that must be corrected. Second, serve to eliminate the necessity of covering subject matter already known to the students. And third, provide a way of assessing the students' progress learning. And perception of the blended learning platform, past researchers have shown that using online learning can effectively connect people and resources, promote active learning, deepen understanding, improve critical thinking skills, and promote creative communication by Khan et al. 2012.
Conceptual framework. We chose IBDB model because both those models highlight the importance of sharing with an end. First, they design backward from the learning objectives to ensure that all content is directly aligned to the course learning goals. Those models start with analyzing and clarifying what competence and course outcomes. Statement of the problem. This study attempted to determine on how sure those instructional materials could be effective in contribution knowledge to the CTHM student. And the specific problem, number one, do the quality of the online education are like the traditional one? Two, does the student have an access on the educational tools to scope up on the new method of learning? 3. Are the teachers or professors teaching technique are effective in transmitting knowledge to the CTHM students? 4. The instruction institution prepared to support the new learning approach.
So, in our hypothesis, we assume that at the end of our research, there is no significant difference between the effectiveness of instructional materials than the face-to-face in contributing the knowledge to the CTHM students.
Significance of the study, it will be students, teachers, future researchers, and parents. Students, it can help to the students because they can read it and understand this study because it will help them to understand what is blended learning and how it feels that they will experience this kind of situation. And teachers, they can also read it to know the side of the students. It can help them to communicate to the students, and they will have knowledge how to handle the online learning. Future researchers, this study can help them to get some idea, and they can also use their studies to more understand what is blended learning in the beginning and what is the reason why it is started. And for parents, it can help them to know what the teacher and students are experienced in the online learning, how hard it is for the students and teachers to deal with it.
So the scope and limitation of this research will be conducted during the first semester of academic year 2021-2022. The focus of this research is to determine the effectiveness of instructional materials for blended learning to the College of Tourism and Hospitality students from first year to fourth year at Immaculate Conception I College of Arts and Technology, if it has a positive or negative effects.
For the research method, the researcher used descriptive quantitative method to further analyze the effective of instructional materials for blended learning. And for the participants of the study, the target participants of the researcher are the students of CTHM Department of Immaculate Conception I College of Arts and Technology in Santa Maria, Bulacan. Population and sample size. The total population of CTHM students are 450 and the sample size was 212. For the computation of the population and sample size, the researcher used the Sloven's formula. The research instrument that is used by the researcher to conduct the study is a survey questionnaire via Google form. That's all for our research proposal. Once again, I am Juline Bartolay.
I am Maricris Alma Putol.
And I am Maria Linalda Silva.
And I am Clarice Lopez from the College of Tourism and Hospitality Department. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.